Ladies and gentlemen, we're already lit. We're already good to go. We have coffee this morning because it's this morning. Normally, there's a bottle of alcohol sitting here. And now we look like this week on Masterpiece Theater. Fireside chat. Exactly. Solo once again. Go Local Unfiltered podcast. Myself, Bryant Busy Bee, and to my right, my brother in arms, the herder of cats, the man with the mission, Mr. Brandon Byers, general manager of Industrial Cigar Company. What's happening?
Good morning, brother.
How are you?
Thanks for having me.
Bro, thank you for coming on. Last minute, I called this dude like 8 minutes ago. Literally, he was in traffic and took a left and he showed up. So I appreciate that.
Always available for you, man.
All right, cool, man. So let's talk a little bit. We do entrepreneurial things, and first of all, you know what? Skip all that. Tell us a little bit about your background, because we've had a couple of my military veteran brethrens on the show. Give us your background before I get into the whole art of how you herd cats.
Gotcha. I always describe to a lot of my closest friends, I'm almost like a Renaissance man, in the fact that, I've done a lot of different jobs. It's taken me a long time to get from point A to point B, and in the middle of that, try to figure out, what my substance is. So, I started out and graduated in 2002. I'm from Waxahachie, Texas. Waxahachie. And, I always, when I was growing up, I was always a big movie buff. I was always a big 80s cop movie buff,
Okay.
There's a couple of like Whoopi Goldberg films where she's like what is it? Not so much a private eye, but like almost like a bounty hunter and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, that was like the igniter for me.
Okay.
And then just seeing someone seeing something that was wrong and wanting to make it right. And that that always resonated with me, always. So, afterward, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. In the middle of that, I thought, you know what, cops don't make a lot of money. I thought about doing Texas Ranger and going, state trooper and all that. And I'm like, they just don't make a lot of money. Like, that's the way it is. And I got kind of lost in wanting to be like the next big thing, like all this. And then I had like political aspirations and stuff. So, I dove into a lot of pools, and eventually got out, was going to college, met my now beautiful bride, and realized that I needed to establish myself. I needed to be able to have a ground floor in order to build whatever it is I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And so I was a detention officer for Denton County for a little while, for about 2.5, almost 3 years.
So using the jailhouse, busting heads.
Exactly. So up to the point where in my apartment complex, one of the guys that was in my pod came out. He's like, "Hey, what's going on, boss?" I'm like, "It's time to move. That's what's going on. Time to get out of here."
I took your cornbread last week and busted you head. Now you living next door to me.
Now, so it's deuces. But no, I wanted more. I wanted to get a better baseline, a better foundation, and I thought, law enforcement works for me. I want to get deeper. I want to do more. But you've got to have experience. Anytime you apply for anything, they're looking for experience. Mm-hmm. They're looking for certain qualifications and accreditations and whatnot. So, my grandfathers were military. My dad was military. And I know for a fact that, military gives you a lot of different resources and tools, as you know. Mm-hmm. Just going in and doing the baseline, like just the bottom floor stuff, gives you so much more accreditation than you can just going out and trying to figure it out on your own. So, I told my wife, I was like, I think I want to join the military. And her response was, if I wanted a military man, I would have married a military man. So, and then it was about a span of like 2 or 3 minutes. So you were
already married before you went in. So I thought you guys got married after. Okay.
Yep.
All right. She's ride or die for real now.
I'm telling you. She's been in from the ground floor. And so we had about a span of like 2 or 3 minutes of silence, and I was like, well, is that a yes or no? Which direction can I go here? Because, I knew enough, even though I was newly married, I knew enough that you don't do something without talking to her first.
Yeah. So, now that you've been married for a long time,
that old saying, happy wife, happy life. And so I've always stuck with that. But so I joined the United States Air Force. My dad was Air Force. My mom's dad was Air Force. My dad's dad was Navy. Got a cousin that was Navy. I've got a brother-in-law who's in the Army. The only branch we haven't had is Coast Guard. So
what about? I didn't hear you say Marines.
You know what? I do have 2 cousins that were Marines.
Okay.
So
respect Marines. I mean, I'm Army. But okay. So you went in. So what was your MOS? Excuse me. What was your job? When you went into the Air Force?
So I was security forces. So I was an MP. I was a cop. And, that was one of those jobs that you could go in and do horrible on the ASVAB and everything like that. And it came up as cook, cop, and a few other things. But I wanted to be a cop. I knew what I wanted to do. So even so much so, there was like a year waiting list to be able to get that job. And I did. I went into delayed enlistment. So I stayed at the Denton County Jail for a little while and did my delayed enlistment where I finally got my my number to be able to get that job when I got out of basic training.
Okay.
So went, did basic training, became a cop, and first duty station was Nellis Air Force Base, over in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it was one of those, definitely dirty jobs, but hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But I ended up loving that assignment. It was amazing, and a lot of it was because I was married. And I didn't have so much freedom that I got myself into a lot of trouble.
Yes, sir.
But I ended up loving the environment out there. I loved the weather. Oh my gosh! If I could get that desert weather to come here to Texas,
just dry and not humid.
Exactly, it's dry heat, so it can be hot. But if you're in the shade, it's perfect. Once the sun goes down, it drops down, so you can have a jacket and get that chill if you want it. And there was also mountain regions around, so. There was Mount Charleston, so if you wanted snow during Christmas, you went up the mountain, did some sledding, came back down, snow was gone. So you got a little bit of everything.
So as you're stationed there, what do you think that instilled in you as far as is being an SP? I think you guys called them, not MP like we called them, same thing. But did they focus on leadership? How did they, because you even though you are a part of a bigger crew, a security detail, if you had to herd cats, what were some of the things that you picked up as far as leadership wise as it started kind of turning you where you're at now?
The cops especially, I had some really great commanders that instilled into me, a lot of different things as far as good overall policies and procedures that these weren't just good for the military. These were like life lessons that could be applied to anything. One of my commanders who's just now retiring, and I think a few days either that or he just retired, and it was one of those really didn't want to, but he amazing man. He always said leave it better than you found it, and that wasn't just something he would say to people. That was his unit wide. This is how we are gonna leave it better than we found it. Which means when you get there, find out the things that you can do better. Find out the things that you can improve. Now, if it's already a system that's established and it's working well, then that doesn't need improvement. You got to find where the actual foundation cracks are at. You got to find where the things are that are causing the most problem. Be creative, be able to adapt, be able to overcome. And when you decide to go somewhere else, then when you look back, you look at those spots and now they're smoothed over, they're filled up, they're strong, it's got a great foundation. And that was something that always stuck with me. No matter what the job was, whether I was, standing a post or, in a vehicle on a flight line guarding cars, or in my the very last job I did was alarm system security for physical and resource protection. And, so there were over 150 alarmed facilities at Nellis, and we also monitored Creech Air Force Base, which was towards Area 51, and because it wasn't a standalone base at the time, it was still connected to us. And
I got to ask about that, but keep on with your
current
I just remember, she was in Vegas. Keep going.
And so I was the guy in charge of giving access to alarm facilities, which meant usually facilities that had a TS and above clearance level. And I had to know a lot of different procedures, a lot of different regulations, the Air Force regulations, the Department of Defense regulations, the Department of, Director of Central Intelligence Directives. I had to know all this stuff. And then I was able to find different things that, loopholes, stuff like that could, that we can improve upon that would just make the overall system better. and I worked my butt off. And, I got a lot of accolades, which that's not what it's about, but it helped me to realize that, when you do bust your butt, good things come to those who wait. And when it was time for me to medically retire, it was a really hard decision because I wanted to do my full 20. I really wanted to go all the way.
Okay.
And when I left, I was just I was an E4. I was right in line to be an E5, to be a sergeant, but because I decided to medically retire, they decided not to let me go further. Which it is what it is. But whenever you retire, there's always a big to do. Well, I was just a lowly E4, and but they did a big to do for me. I had former commanders, former chiefs come out, like fly in town just to go to my retirement ceremony, and that meant the world to me. And it also told me that, hey, they're only doing this because, I worked my butt off, and I was someone who, gave a crap about what they wanted done, and I took it upon myself to make it important, to make it better. And not to toot my own horn, but that really helped me to realize that when you do the work, when you really work hard, you're not going to get a pat on the back every single day. Mm-hmm. But when it's time for you to go somewhere else, people do notice. You understand what character is. You understand what it means to have integrity, to do what you're supposed to do the right thing when nobody's looking. Because whether you know it or not, there's always somebody looking. There's always somebody watching you. And, that helped me to realize, okay, I'm going to be okay. Mm-hmm. If I can take these lessons and move on with them, I'm going to be able to do something for somebody somewhere. Most of all, for my family, for myself, to be able to establish the fact that, I do have substance. I'm finding that substance I was looking for. And that meant a lot. And, it was my first duty station, and got deployed to Iraq, ended up getting injured, and that was what led to my medical retirement. So, there was a lot of different variables that was causing a lot of problems in my life at the time. So once I got out, got back home, had to live with the parents for a little while, mine and hers, till we could figure out what we were going to want to do. And I decided, I wanted to do Homeland Security, and they didn't have like a Homeland Security degree at the time. So I went to emergency management. It was kind of like one of those two fingers on the same hand type of deal. I could get this one and be really close to that one and still be able to use it towards that direction. And I did. I worked as a intel analyst for Homeland Security in a fusion center up in McKinney. And a really cool job, very, very interesting. And this was kind of when the Renaissance stuff kind of branched out. Getting injured, almost, not being able to come home, left a pretty big impression on me, left a lot of scars too, not just on me and but on my family as well. So we've had to overcome and really work at a lot of things just to, one, feel sane, and two, be able to live a normal life. As normal as normal is. And so I ended up hooking up with a group, a nonprofit group, and I ended up going and speaking all over the country. I left Homeland Security and became a motivational speaker for different events, a lot of wounded families and veterans. And
okay, I've known you for 2 years and had no clue that you did that.
I traveled all across the country and spoke at several different events, different venues, all the way from a crowd of 10 to 15 to a crowd of like 23,000. And, really, really cool part of my life. But I was out all the time. I was traveling all the time. I was rarely home. And so that started affecting my family and stuff. And I realized, okay, I'm doing a lot of good, I feel. And it was something that I needed to do as well, because as much as I was being able to use my personal story to help other people, I was also healing myself by going through a lot of those details and figuring out what it is that, was still going on with me, and being able to kind of heal those things, as I went through them. And so it was.
The more you talked about it, the more that it actually started internally patching things up. Things started feeling
absolutely
better. And then probably the one thing I noticed is when you share a story, sometimes you ever think like you're the only person going through something, And then all of a sudden you see that so many others are in the same exact state of mind or situation, and that helps with the healing process as well.
It does, absolutely. You realize that you're not the only one that thinks that way. You're not the only one going through it. And you find a community, whether it's small or big, you're able to connect with a lot of different people, which also helps with the healing process. And you come to realizations, and you start realizing, the things that you might need a little bit more help on. It was something that helped me to realize to utilize actual counseling, not just for me, for my family, and how to find those resources, how to use those resources. And it's not just about finding someone and talking to them. It's about finding someone you're comfortable with. It's about finding people that you connect with, that you feel safe around, and being able to talk about things and work things out, get people's opinion, get suggestions. But sometimes it's just you need an ear.
You got to be open to it too. I know a lot of people that are not.
Absolutely.
I used to be that way, where you think that nobody can tell you anything, or okay, fine, I'll agree to disagree. Nah, man. Like, I've learned going to college to get a photo degree was pretty much the most eye-opening thing, because if you get an assignment every week and you have to take your work and you have to put it up on a wall, and you have 9 photos, you may take 200 photos, but then the teacher said, give me your 9 best. And the whole class gets up and rips your shit apart. They talk about, I've seen people in tears, and like I've had to chill people yo, man, you ain't got to be that damn ruthless about it. But it's normally that person that gets this big fancy camera and has no clue what they're doing. Photos are out of focus. Everything's horrible. And you learn, that was one of the best ways I learned how to take constructive criticism.
Yes.
And now I embrace it. Doesn't bother me no more. It really doesn't. It gives you a thicker skin. You can't trip. And there's certain things when people are just being downright mean or whatever, and you can dismiss them, but you can also take in whatever the good stuff is. And once you get past that point, that's just how you grow. And that's maturity, all that different stuff.
That's just what life is. You learn, you grow, you're able to kind of figure it out, but then also along the line you figured out that you haven't figured out anything, and then you got to start over several times.
I think people have such a this idea or this stereotype of people ex-military. Some people do is just well, he's that way because he's ex-military. I'm like, some of it yes, some of it no. Everybody doesn't have to be a hard ass or all organized. I know a bunch of my homies that are veterans or whatever, and they ain't doing nothing. They ain't all together. I know some guys that are too stiff, like what's the name of them? Full Metal Jacket, Private Pile, just straight up too rigid. I still think the military, for me, I waited for the last minute. I literally was in high school, jacking around, not doing nothing. I didn't even get on honor roll until my last semester of school.
Yep.
I had to go to summer school the year before in order to graduate on time that coming up year. I just goofed off, and I had no other options. And 2 of my best friends were ROTC. They were going in, and I was like, we had 2 days for graduation, and I just went down to the recruiter's office, went in on the buddy program with my boys, and like, what do you want to be? I'm like, oh, no. I can be smart. I can do some stuff. Let me see. Luckily, the ASVAB, even though math is my worst subject, I qualified high enough. I was an IT man. I was a computer repair tech.
Yep.
I was like, yo, I can make some money when I get out. I want to do that. Because helicopter pilot days, like, nah, that's not you. Can I fly one of them F-14s like Tom Cruise? It's like, nah, bro, that's you. He said, you can get boots on the ground and go. I was like, nah, that's not me. I'm what they call chairborne, not airborne, chairborne. I sit in the computer desk. But I will say, to come from, a medium-sized city of Omaha, Nebraska, to then go to South Carolina for basic training, and then go to Fort Gordon, Georgia for a year and a half. My AIT school was a year and a half because they had to teach me how to read schematics. It's not like now where you literally replace a card or put we were literally pulling out a board, desolderizing chips and finding it. Oh my God. And the computer was the size of this room.
Yep.
It was literally a hard drive was a file drawer that you lifted up, took a plunger, lifted it out, and then the disk. The 486 computer was the fastest thing running back then. So that tells you how old I am. And then when the Gulf War hit, when Desert Storm hit, that's kind of when shit got a little bit real. Like it's not playtime because it wasn't hard. Basic training was different. Everything was cool. You just went to work, did your stuff, did communications. Then one day, TV came on, AFN. TV came on, and Daddy Bush was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a situation." And then I'll never forget, we were in the barracks and the phone rang, and they said, "Everybody get dressed, suited and booted. It's time to hit the bricks. C-130's on the pad." I'm like, the hell he just say? What was all that? Who's a C-130 and then who got bricks and what's going on? Like, man, there's like when they tell you when you're fixing computers all this time, and then I'm jumping in my Nissan Sentra. I'm in Germany. I'm in Berlin. And I had a BMW. That's what started my love with BMWs. I had an old 635 BMW with subs in the back, and I'm normally used to going to the club and DJing on Friday. They was like, "Nah, take that BMW and you show up at the Armory and come get your pack. We got to go." I'm like, yo, this is real. Then you get in a plane and you sit backwards, facing backwards, and the C-130 flying backwards is probably the most horrifying thing ever. The takeoff
is those big old blades. You're like, if something goes wrong, this thing's gonna slice right through here.
And then when we landed, I swear to God, they don't land the planes. They just literally close their eyes and see how close they can get to the ground.
Those combat landings. Woo,
oh my God, it's like that's why I don't do roller coasters. So
they either do like a dive bomb down or they do a swirl.
In both. I've been in both. And the dive, I'll do the swirl. I got some sense of it. But that dive bomb thing, when you just drop and hit the ground, oh my God. But anyway, after all that and realizing a lot of things, you do appreciate life. You do understand the reasons for organization, structure, management. And that's kind of like, if we fast forward to what you do now, when I say about management herding the cats, I've managed people a lot, and I had to learn. The biggest thing I had to learn was delegation.
Yes.
Delegation was the hardest thing for me to do because I just felt I had to do it all myself. Then I got spoiled by it, got used to doing it. So when I had to go back to worker bee mode, I didn't know how to act. I was like, man, I can get somebody else to do this. Why I got to do this? So I remember you come here to ICC, for everybody that doesn't know. So we always do our podcast from our beloved home here at Industrial Cigar in the Byron room. Bam. But like literally, we play here, we work here, we do everything here. And you were working here. And once again, and I love it how you prefaced everything, because I know for a fact the staff, the management, the owners saw that you left it better than you found it. And, when they announced that you were now the general manager, we was all in the back, like jumping jacks, like, yay. Then you were, so what was some of the first immediate problems or challenges that you were faced with when you actually took over this herd of cats that we call ICC?
ICC is family owned and operated. And that's the way it should be. And even if you're a new employee, you become family. If you're a new customer, a new member, whatever it is, you're part of the family. That's why we always say, welcome to the family. So being that it's family run and operated, it's difficult when you've got a group of people that you kind of become a part of, and they've been together for so long. They know exactly what each other is thinking. They know what the other one's going to say, even if that person's not there, and they go off of that. So, without communicating to you what they're doing or what's going on, or this is how it is, they just, look at each other, certain nods, things like that, and then they go off, and you're like, wait, what's going on?
Exactly.
What? That was something that, I've had to work with as far as, establishing a communication chain, communication line, so that everybody's informed of what's going on, who's doing what, where, when, why. Creating that baseline structure so that we can build on it. That's something that I've worked really hard with.
Now, do you think that brought to light the point and fact of being that when you have a group of people, the family, I mean, it's not even just the family, but just all the staff, everything here, that people may not realize that, fellas, we have unspoken things, and ladies, don't take this wrong, but we could be in a room and just look at each other and nod, and we know exactly what we just said. You could be with your wife, and just when you get a group like you said that's together, you develop telepathic telekinesis powers. So, would you bringing that to light do you think that some of the things you brought to the table really just made people go, we didn't realize that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, I mean, whether they realized it or not, that was something that was happening. So, then they started realizing why there were trouble in other aspects as to why, one thing was happening. And it helped them to realize, oh, well, if I had told so-and-so what I was doing or what I needed done, then it probably would have gotten done the way I needed it to rather than the way it did. Now I've got to do it a different way. So, there were extra steps being added on to things just because some things weren't being communicated.
Right.
So you bring that into light and you start working on that. The other thing is organization. ICC is a ever fluid moving thing.
Yes.
It's growing all the time. It's expanding all the time. This place is just, potential spilling out of it.
Yes.
So it takes a lot of work to be able to figure out the areas that we can structure and the areas that need to just be flexible because, hey, this is going to be different in just a few weeks. So there's no point in making something like strong and rigid where it can't expand. So, but then you find those items, the stock room, the office, things like that need to be organized, that need to have certain places for certain things. And it's taken a little bit of time, but it's, that's gradual pressure over time. The thing is that you can't try to, you can find a lot of different little cracks in here, that's, here and there, and different things can be worked on. But the trick is adding that gradual pressure over time, because if you try to fix something overnight, it's not that it can't be done, it's that the human aspect of it, that's the part that's going to be most difficult, because people do not adapt to change overnight. Not well, anyway, because when you're doing it one way and then you snap your fingers and you do it something totally different, total opposite of what they've always been doing, then they want to understand why. Whereas where you're trying to keep going, okay, let's keep going, let's da-da-da-da-da. They need to understand why, they need to understand what it is, and you have to take that time to explain it to them as well. So if you try to do it overnight, then you're just going to make mass chaos.
How much? So that evidently takes patience and understanding and realization. And that's one thing I've seen, that people just want you to snap and change how you are automatically, immediately, and go for it and expect it to be amazing. And it's like, okay, maybe a tiger can change its stripes, but let it get time to get understanding and things like that. But now, on the other side of it, do you battle with impatience as far as, because like you said, this place is pretty rocking and rolling at a forward motion. How do you know when it's time to be like, okay, you ain't got it by now, we need to do something else? Or do you?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, this has also been a growing experience for me. I mean, we said it a little while ago. When you feel like you've figured it out, that usually means you're going to be starting at square one again, because you really don't have anything figured out.
Correct.
And that's just the way life is. That's the way business is. It is an ever fluid, evolving thing that you have to be consistently ready to be able to change your view and your perspective on. All the things that you and I have both gone through, being deployed, seeing some really horrible stuff to seeing some really amazing things.
Correct.
It changes your perspective on everything. So being able to understand that, one, gradual pressure, two, knowing that patience is something that is going to evolve as well. You might think you have patience, when in reality, it's still not quite going the way you think it's supposed to be going, or the way that it needs to be going. And then you've got your blood pressure, and then you get that ball of fire just rumbling up, and you're like, why? What am I not saying? What am I not being clear about for it to happen like this, or for it to be like this, or to look like this? When it comes down to it, everybody learns differently. Everybody hears things differently. So you have to be able to go person by person, understand how it is, what their language is, and how to explain things to them, how to talk with them. When you look at sales for the humidor, I could sit there and write down some structured out, bit by bit, this is how we're going to sell cigars, and give it out to every employee. But the problem is not all of them are going to sit there and read that and just be able to go with it. You're going to have a few that are. Feel to say, okay, yeah, no problem, go. Then you're going to have some other ones that just, they're seeing gibberish. They're not connecting the dots, not because they're not smart enough, not because they can't, but because they think totally differently. Their process, their thought process, their understanding, their acknowledgement is just different. That's why,
I learn by visual.
Yeah, that's why in school, teachers have to adapt to each and every student, because no one learns the same thing the same way. It's just the way it is. And, it has nothing to do with how smart or anything like that. It has everything to do with how people process information. If we were all the same, then, this world really wouldn't be that interesting at all.
Correct.
If we could all figure it out, then we would have it figured out by now. So it does take patience. It does take, understanding that a lot of times I've got to pull the reins on myself, because I'll get hyped up, I'll get pumped up, and I'll get motivated about something. But if I sit there and just try to steamroll it, I'm going to sabotage myself, because I need to take it step by step, bit by bit, to realize who I need to have involved in it, how do I need to explain it to them, but also explain it in a way that I'm clearly describing what it is, so that way I can answer any questions they might have. But knowing that, it might not happen the first, second, third, fourth go around. It might take 5 times before everybody gets it, everybody understands, and it's something that we implement and it works. Because I might not have explained it well. I might not have thought of everything. And I think a lot of it comes down to, the management style. Something that I learned in the military is, the people that work with you need top cover. They need that coverage so that they can work well. My job for my employees specifically is to make sure that they're covered, which means that I need to make sure I've thought about what it is they need to succeed, what tools they need, what policies need to be implemented, or procedures need to be implemented, so that way they can make, discretional decisions, when I'm not here, or when one of the frakes isn't here. These are things that I have to make sure I think about that they have, so that if something does go wrong, it's not because, they didn't have what they needed. Mistakes are going to be made, bottom line. But in my opinion, I take it very personally if a mistake was made or something happened because I wasn't, doing what I needed to do to make sure they had what they needed to do the job. So, but it also brings me down to the point of, you can't micromanage. That's something that I learned in the military as well. Micromanaging is really, really easy. It's a very, very simple thing to do. It's an easy trap to fall into. But when you do that, you're actually pushing people away. You're going to end up losing way more than you're going to gain by micromanaging, by sitting there and, initially you need to show people how to do something or what it is you're wanting done. But if you continuously step in and continuously do it for them, or continuously, oh, no, just let me show you, and do it. That's going to show them that you have no confidence in their ability to do the job. And eventually they're going to be like, okay, fine. You know what? You want to do it, you do it. Obviously you don't need me here, so see you later. And I guarantee you that's what's going to end up happening. So I'm always trying to keep that in mind, as to, what I need to do to provide a stable-ish environment, right, for employees, even for the owners. I want to make sure that I've got all the tools that are necessary, out there. Everybody knows where they are. If for any reason something's unsure, I make sure they have the contact information they need for the person that needs to be contacted, whether it's myself or somebody else. I want to make sure they've got that top cover so that when crap falls down, it doesn't land directly on them, because I need to be that filter. I need to be able to take the responsibility that is mine as manager, to be able to own up when, hey, you know what, this isn't on them. This is on me because I didn't do this. And even if it is something that happened and I've given them everything they possibly can, I also need to look at it as a learning experience as well. Okay, what could I have done better? What is it that happened, and what do we need to do in order to either make sure this doesn't happen again, or to make this from not so much a failure, but being a trip up to a stumble and roll into into a landing. So those are the things that I've been gradually learning, gradual pressure over time, learning how to grow that patience and not look at it as, well, this is just a failure. This doesn't work.
So how do you evaluate yourself as far as performance? I know you have to do performance evaluations for others, but how do you, we call it the chin check. How do you evaluate, do you go by evaluating yourself?
It really comes down to that whole micromanaging aspect. Looking at, a lot of times I'll come in, when I'm not working a shift, and I want to see how things are running. I want to see how the customers are responding to personnel. I want to see how sales are doing. I want to see, how clean things are, what things have been checked. And that's really how I evaluate myself, because when I don't find anything, that tells me, okay, everybody's on point. Everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. I even re-review, what it is I've said, throughout the week, the previous month, to make sure that everybody understands what's going to be happening, what's coming, looking at, what events, what, people are going to be coming in, this, that, and the other, that I need to make sure that my staff, the owners, are aware of, so that everybody's, doing what they need to be doing and prepared the way they need to be prepared and whatnot. A lot of times I review what it is that I've gone over, and I try to make sure, sometimes I try to find where I've messed up. Sometimes it's find a flaw. Let's find a flaw and look at it that way. And sometimes, I'll find like 5 or 6. I'm like, okay, I'm glad I did this, because I need to get these fixed. This is where I wasn't quite making the cut. And then sometimes I just review, hey, things are really working, so let's go over what we've done, so that way this can be repeated. Because if this can keep happening like this, then we're going to be just fine.
Everything you mentioned, I think, works very well no matter the size of the organization. I think if you ran a small mom and pop store with 2 or 3 employees, or if you were running a staff of 100, everything literally, would you agree or disagree that just based on the fundamentals we just talked about, it's just the effort, it's the SOP, standards and procedures, that would work in either size? You just have to gauge it. Now, of course, larger organizations, you're going to need sub-managers under you, but you pretty much got everything that I see around you. And then, you have fun and you have great relationships with everybody. That's the one thing I will say that, like McDonald's and other organizations, is that you started in the trenches anyway before you became GM, but nothing changed. You are still emptying ashtrays, checking on everybody, doing the whole 9 yards as you were before. It's just the air of responsibilities that you take on that the patrons don't see. That's been added to what you do, which is like, you do an amazing job. And I just joke and say hurting the cats, but sometimes it is, because it's not only staff you got to manage.
It can feel like that a lot of times.
And you had to also manage patrons. And that in any, I'm not just saying here in the lounge, that's in any industry, you got to, and this is, man, now today, this is just straight up, people done lost their brain. Like, I could not work on the airlines. My first day at work, I'll probably get fired, because the first person that was to pop off to me like they've been disrespecting these stewardesses, I'm straight plowing now. I'm just going to straight you out of there, and just because you didn't get 3 ice cubes in your soda, they knock out somebody's teeth. The airline, like, disrespect them. Like, I don't know where this entitlement from the world is. COVID and had some crazy juice or something left in their head, because it's getting bad. But imagine having to manage that type of environment.
That would be, it'd be one thing that I always try to look at is look at what type of job it is and look at the core of what it is. Most jobs, if you have anything to do with people, you're in a customer service job.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
But is a customer always right?
That's where it needs to be, broken down to killing people with kindness. I always try to say, think of it as Roadhouse, with Patrick Swayze. Be nice. Be nice until it's time to not be nice. And even when it's time to not be nice, that means it's time to be professional. Being professional for me means not allowing someone to get you riled up to the point where you go off. Because the minute you do that, all your credibility, all your ability to de-escalate, your ability to get control of the situation is lessened. And you might just absolutely lose all control, or, you might lose the ability to ever have that person as a customer again. And, there are some people that for whatever reason, bad day, bad mood, bad year, whatever it is. And sometimes you can break that down to help them realize, hey, look, we're doing everything we can, but it doesn't help when you're doing this. And I need you to understand that when you come at somebody like this, you need to understand that these are still people, these are still humans, and there's going to be a reaction. So let's de-escalate. Let's try to figure out, where the problem is here. And I would, I'd prefer it if we could just handle this one-on-one and be calm and collective. Some people they don't want to do that. They're looking for a fight. They're looking for whatever it is. And at that point, when you've realized that you've done everything you possibly can, and it's just not a winnable solution or a situation where you're going to be able to get through to someone, that's when it's unfortunately just one of those things. Okay, obviously we're not going to be able to handle this out. You give them all the contact info or whatever if it's a sales thing or whatever, and it's one of those things up, you know what, I can give this person their money back and then let them be on their way, and we'll make up that sale 10 times later on, rather than sitting here going back and forth and fighting over something, and then all these other customers see it. All these other people are like, what kind of place is this where they're going off, and da-da-da-da-da. And then it has a rippled effect. And then if that person nowadays, you just have to assume, okay, now they're going to go on every social media and rating thing and this, that, and the other.
The huge thing now,
it
man.
is,
that is reviews and all that stuff, and that is a ride or die, make or break situation.
It's great. So I mean, and that's where Brandon Frakes and Andrew really come into play, where they monitor stuff like that on a regular. So if we do have an issue, they monitor that. So to see if that person does come through, then we make sure that we make our presence known as to, hey, we're really sorry for the inconvenience here, or we're sorry for whatever it is that happened. We tried to do this, this, and this. If you feel like there's something else we could be doing or something you'd like to discuss further, we'd be more than happy to have you in here or discuss it over the phone. However you'd like to take care of this, we're open to do that.
I'm glad you said that, because it's almost now you need a department just for that.
You really do. You need a department,
social media department, not to post, but to de-escalate and follow up. I know a guy, and one of the clients I work with also, and some other people I noticed, like they literally, as we are both car fanatics, and one of the companies that I order a lot of stuff from, they literally respond to every comment on every social media platform, good, bad, or ugly. Thanks a lot. Oh, how can we help you? We have your direct number. We solved, and they'll say if the problem's been resolved and all that stuff. Like, that's literally a full-time job just to make sure. But you have to, because the phone is the windows to the world when it comes to your business.
It is. It really is.
And so what's the first thing? Like right now, I'm trying to whittle it down for me, where me and the wife are going to go for vacation in Mexico. And Tyler gave me a great suggestion where to go. We're looking at it, and I'm trying to find ways. But what's the first thing I did? Clicked on reviews.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
on everything. If you buy something on Amazon, click on reviews. You don't even care about the price or anything just yet. You want to see what people are doing. Now, the bad part about it, there are people in the world that just love to be negative.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then you've also got people in there that they hype things up, because either they work there or for whatever reason.
Exactly. So you got a bias even when you read that.
With a grain of salt. You just do.
But I think that the genuineness of once they come in contact with your business, when they see the actual person setting the foundation, leaving it better than they found it, you can't fake that. Once you get into an atmosphere or a place, I've been to, one of my favorite places to shop is Men's Warehouse. And I have my concierge, Priscilla. Every time I call before I go to make sure she's there. Yeah. Because nobody pays attention, take care. Like the first time I met her.
Once you establish that relationship, that's huge.
Man,
that means everything.
Above and beyond. And maybe, and I'm not saying the other people aren't qualified.
Well, it means a lot to that particular person as well. That makes that's kind of a reassurance to them that, hey, I trust you. You're doing such a good job for me that, you're the person I want to go to from now on. That lets them know that, hey, I'm doing good. Like, if she's off work, continue to improve, obviously, I'm not going in. I'm doing well.
No, she does above. Like, I needed, we had a funeral, unfortunately, and I needed something tailored, and she came in on her day off to take it over to They didn't get my suit jacket done, so she came in on her day off to take it over to a tailor around the corner to get it done.
Absolutely.
Paid for it, brung it back, and I was just blown away. And honestly, I hate to say this, the one time, the Derby party, when I finally bought a hat, and I went up there to get a hat and a jacket for that, and she was off that day. And when I say no one helped me, no one acknowledged I was even there. I sat there, and the hats are in the front of the store. No, everybody just walked around me, didn't say anything. I don't know if they knew that's Priscilla's guy or whatever, but that shouldn't matter. I don't know what's going on. But
if she's not there, then someone's got to take care of you.
And nobody did anything. So I grabbed the hat. She said, "Who helped you?" I said, "Not a damn one of y'all." "Oh, I'm sorry." I said, "Nah, you ain't sorry. There's 80 of y'all running around here." Everybody else that walked in, and it wasn't a race thing or nothing, because they greeted other guys of different colored creeds and all that, but nobody said anything. Was it because I was just looking at hats? I wasn't back in the section where the more expensive items were the suits.
And that shouldn't matter either, though. I mean,
exactly. But it had me wondering.
Yeah.
So it's got me guessing.
Well, it does.
Why did my experience change?
Establish a line of questioning as to, well, why is this happening?
Exactly.
Now? But no, I mean, you really need departments to be able to de-escalate stuff. But it also shows that might not be something that's going to help with that situation. But it lets whoever else know that's reading that or sees that, hey, even though this guy is saying all this stuff, I see that they're responding. They're
attentive.
They're still trying to make this better, which means a lot. So you do that to be able to. You're not going to win every situation, but as long as you are present and you're trying, and you're putting forth effort and dedication towards it. Me personally, I feel like that right there says a whole lot about what the business is, who the business is, specifically that person as well. So, I mean, it really does come down to these are things that can work towards a smaller business. They can work towards a bigger corporation as well. Obviously, on a grander scale, it needs a little bit more finite detailed and a little bit more rigid walls to it, just because once you get more, there's a lot more to go over. There's a lot more to consider. When it's a little bit smaller, you're able to kind of encompass a whole lot into a smaller area, so you can kind of see, every bit of it. Whereas when it gets to a huge corporate level, there's a lot of unseen stuff that you're not going to be able to imagine it's going to happen. So you've just got to be able to come up with some stricter, more rigid, policies and procedures and stuff like that, because once you start getting to that level, then it's a different ball game. But the overall core of what it is you do to be customer service, to show hospitality, to be able to, like we say here, our whole mantra is that we create community by providing the finest cigar experience to people of all levels. And it talks about whether you're a new novice smoker or you're a seasoned smoker. It's not just about getting you to come in and buy a cigar. We want to know what it is you're looking for based off of what it is you've had in the past, or what it is that you're thinking in your head as far as what you want to taste. I need to make sure that my staff has an intimate knowledge of what our inventory is, of what we have, so that they can take what it is that person is saying and give them the best possible recommendation. Also let them know that, hey, if this person, find out what it is they're coming in for. Is this someone who comes in on a regular basis? Is this one of our members? Is this a new-time customer? Or maybe this is a regular that's bringing in some new-time or, first-time customers. Finding out, what it is that's bringing that person in there. Finding out what it is that they're looking for. Taking those opportunity to capitalize on letting them know who we are and what it is we're about. Giving them a tour, letting them know a little bit about our history, and then letting them know this is what we have. This is what they are, and this is what they're going to do for you. I don't want to bombard you with information, but I do want to give you enough to where you can make the best possible decision. Using that and then progressing it, finding out, do they plan on going home and smoking that, taking it somewhere? Are they going to stay with us? Mm-hmm. If they're going to go home and take it somewhere, maybe make some recommendations on, how they should cut it, or things that they could drink with it, whether it's soda or milk or scotch or whiskey or whatever it is. Making some recommendations based off the things that you know. If you don't know a lot about it, then you limit your answers so that you're not blowing smoke at somebody, because we don't ever want to do that. But you still want to make as many possible recommendations to improve their experience as much as possible, whether they're going to be here or somewhere else. If they're going to be here with us, then, we step it up a notch and give them a little bit more of a tour. If they've got the time, bring them all the way through so they can really see who we are and what it is that we do. Bringing them through, showing them, what it is that we have. And once they sit down, then you go after it again. And you let them know, hey, really want you to know that we appreciate you being here with us. Find out if they want something to drink, soda, water, or something of that nature. Find out a little bit more. So, where are you from? Or how are you liking that selection? Is that something that you're liking? And if it hits the mark, you know what? There's a few others that you should give a try. Whether they want to hit it before they leave, or the next time they come in, there's something to look forward to. That, I want to try that next time I come in. That's exactly what I'm going towards. So that way I've got, they've got a reason, they've got a purpose, and it's exciting. It gives them a little bit more to expect next time they come in.
If you own a cigar lounge or any type of business, we're going to be charging $19.95 for this episode, because this is definitely herding cats 101. No, it's management. But, I mean, everything you just said definitely even applies to any type of business.
It really does. That old mantra of take care of the customer takes care of you, that has never been in question. That's never gone away. And anytime I've ever seen it or implied it or implemented it, it has always come back as a success, because people want quality. A lot of things now it's more about quantity than quantity or quality, or it's about making more profit off of it with spending as little as possible. And when you do that, the customer's never satisfied.
Well, the problem is too, though, but people have settled for really started to settle for mediocrity.
I'll just buy 15 of them rather than expecting one to do well.
Yes.
Or, I'll pay a whole lot of that because of the name on it. And, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, well, I guess I'll buy another one.
If you look at stuff like music videos used to be a huge production. Now, literally,
it was like a movie.
They're just grabbing an iPhone and they're doing it, and it's on MTV. It's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the ability, as it said, that the art form is now available to everyone. But where's the care in it? Where's the care in? You can self-publish a book.
Where's
That's great.
The time and quality it took to provide that experience?
My wife reads a lot of books from young and up-and-coming authors, and they're self-published, and the amount of typos and things like that she finds in them.
When I was doing motivational speaking, there's a lot of guys out there that rather than trying to find a publishing company or someone to be able to give them the right direction and the nourishment that they need to be able to create something that's going to do well, that's going to help people. It's all about trying to get something self-published. They don't get it reviewed that much. And then they get awards because of how many somebody bought. So then they go out, hey, buy as many as you can. And then they can be like, oh, it's the number one selling da-da-da-da-da. Well, you have 1,500 copies in your garage. That's why it's the number one selling, because you have all of them.
The quality isn't there. Basketball.
Exactly.
Basketball season right now. And I don't really watch basketball. I love football. But when I watch it, it's entertainment. It's competition. But if you watch basketball now, all I see is a bunch of dudes running up and down the court, stopping and shooting free throws.
Yeah.
I mean, three-pointers. That's it. Nobody's in the paint. And if somebody gets touched on their wrist, they fall down or they flop and they cry and whatever. Like when I grew up back in the days of Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, like they got in the paint and they banged.
That was an artistry. There was hard work behind it.
Now all they do is shoot three-pointers, and it's boring.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to today, unfortunately. It comes down to, when I get prospective employees to come in, if I'm doing an interview and bringing people in, I want them to make sure that, hey, for me, this is literally a dream retire. I'm actually living my dream. This is one of the jobs that I had always put down that, when I retire, or something that I would be more than happy to do, for the rest of my days.
Bucket list item checked. One of them was
working at a cigar shop, and I got even more than what I expected. I said a cigar shop, not a lounge, and I'm living even more of a dream now. But it still requires work, and that's where some people, it just gets lost on them. They hear come into a cigar shop, they want to be able to just walk around and smoke cigars and talk with people. That's one of the things that we do, but there's so much more to it. If you do this right, you're going to work your butt off because there's a lot that goes into making this place run. Mm-hmm. You got to make sure the restroom's clean. You got to scrub that toilet. It's a dirty thing to do, but it makes a whole lot of difference when a female walks into the restroom and sees that it's not covered with urine and this, that, and the other.
Yes.
There's not trash everywhere, that it's clean, it's pristine, that there's paper towels there. Same thing for if a male goes in there. You know, male has a little bit more tolerance for it, but I'll tell you one thing, if I go in somewhere and I walk in and there's pee everywhere, I'm like, all right, I've got to go and I'm going to go, but this is not.
I'm not going to like it.
I'm not
not
like,
coming back.
Like, exactly. I'm going to have to shower after I leave here because, dang.
It's just that nasty.
And, you know, a lot goes into it. Same thing goes for looking at the floors and seeing, okay, you know, this needs to be swept or this needs to be mopped. You know, going into the humidor and looking at the cigars and how they're facing means a lot when you walk in there and you see them, all of them on one side, and you see them all, the bands that are facing you correctly and not like band, skew, band, skew.
No, everything is
you know,
always.
these are all things that we, you know, are consistently thinking about and trying to make sure are at the forefront of who we are and what we do.
I'll challenge this to other places because I have not yet seen it. And I've been to a few cigar lounges and I just came from Vegas, TPE, and I had to do this, but I have yet to, even where we live at here in DFW, to be to a lounge to where they constantly empty and wipe the ashtrays out.
It means a lot.
All the time.
It does a lot.
When I was in Vegas, I did all the ashtray emptying at our table because the lady looked at me like I was crazy when I asked her to do it. And I just sit at other lounges and nobody empties and wipes ashtrays. Because if you're sitting there watching the game or chilling, this thing is going to fill up.
If they've got any type of air filtration system or anything of moving air, ashes don't weigh anything at all. And they float like you wouldn't believe. The slightest little breeze and all of a sudden, it's all over you. It's all over your cigar. That's not what we want.
And then you got people, they done smoke 2 or 3 cigars. Now it's all piled up there.
All piled
You're
up.
moving it around, try to whatever. I mean, like we're here recording, so of course this is it. But like this is like, oh, this is a 5-alarm fire right here. This would not pass.
We would ever allow.
This would not be allowed because it's done, and everybody's on top of it. So it's almost, it's not that you're spoiled, but the bar and the expectations of service have just been raised, so now everybody else is getting weighed against their experience here. Yeah, but that's what it's about.
Exactly, it is. I mean, I would hope other people would go other places and expect the same thing, because as a customer, as a person who is spending money on your establishment, they should expect quality. Mm-hmm. They should expect to be treated well. You know, I just bought a truck recently, and for the amount of time it took them to get me to buy the truck, you know, I was a king. But the minute my signature was on that paper, I was extremely disappointed in how many things fell through the holes and how I was being treated. And it's like, I just bought a vehicle from you. You guys should be like rubbing my feet right now.
That's the one industry that's really, really got it bad. I used to do cars.
There's that. And there's, I mean, but you go anywhere nowadays, and a lot of places, before you even walk in, the understanding the expectation of an employee or a manager or anything, it's like, hey, you're either going to spend money here or you're not. And they don't really care, unfortunately, because a lot of times they don't have to put in a lot of effort, and if you ask them to, it's a burden. I know I go a lot of different places, whether it's fast food or something like that, and I'm trying to get some questions answered. I'm just trying to get some decent service because I have an expectation. I apologize, I have an expectation, but you know, as a person who's spending money on your establishment, I would like to have my questions answered, and I want a certain type of service. And, you know, say, you know, take 50s, 60s, 70s. If you walked into a department store or anything like that, someone snapped right to, they followed you all the way around. They would bring your selections to a changing room, all of that. You watch a lot of black and white movies and things of that, and you're like, wow, that's awesome. Well, it's not rocket science. It's taking care of a customer. It's having quality and pride in what it is you do. And
the sad part is that people say when you go into an exemption like that, oh, it's hoity-toity.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to go to them upper scale guys. So wait a minute, you're saying if you go into a place to where they actually give you exemplary, just great customer service, make sure everything is whatever, and you know, okay, in pricing and all that's really not expensive, but it's just because when you receive quality customer service, their perception is it's out of reach, it's out of range, versus you going to somewhere getting treated like crap, and you're like, yeah, this is the norm.
Yeah.
That's where the world feels like it's going.
It really is, unfortunately. And now, like, certain businesses and stuff like that have, for whatever reason, you know, they've just stopped caring. You know, they've gotten to the point where take one of the all-time most frustrating customer service jobs there is, and that's working at the VA. Okay, at a VA hospital, specifically Dallas VA hospital. You go into Dallas VA, and unfortunately, there's a lot of disgruntled people there, veterans and workers. And I get it. They're as a combat wounded vet, there's a lot that there's so many chips on my shoulder that I could let crumble off and this, that, and the other, and then just take out on every single person. But that's a choice that I decide to make. Okay. Same thing goes for a worker. As a professional working at a job, I have to leave all my personal stuff at the door when I walk in. That's got nothing to do with my job. And even if someone else comes in with their own personal stuff and throws it at me, I can't take that personally. Now, human factor is what it is, but you still have to have that ability to understand that this is my professional time. This is the time where I can't allow that to get me riled up. I can't allow that to sit there and take that as an attack towards me. This person might have just lost somebody, or they might have just gotten into an accident, or they might have just lost everything they had, or whatever the circumstances are. My wife is really good about doing that, by the way. Whenever I'm getting upset or road rage or anything like that, she always is the first one to point out, well, you don't know what they've got going on. You don't know what happened. And at the time, that's not what I want to hear. I'll be honest with you, it's not what I want to be hearing right then. But she's absolutely right. You don't know what someone else has got going on in their life. Now, take that into account and then sit there. It might be a circumstance or an issue where you being kind and professional could make their year. You could end up having someone crying because they're like, I apologize for whatever this is. I just want to make sure that you're taken care of. What is it that you need from me in order to make sure that that happens? You can see a light click on a person, and instantly you have someone come in with their chest puffed out and they're ready to rumble. Unfortunately, that's the stance most people take when they come into any type of establishment now, is that they're ready to push back. They're tired of it. They're tired of being treated like crap and then given money. So when you sit there and go, well, how can I help you today? Or what is it that brings you in today? And one, you give it in a pleasant voice. You give it in a professional tone of, hey, I'm here to help you out. What can I do to do that? You start to see those shoulders slouch a little bit. You see that guard come down a little bit, and they're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I just wanted to find this, or, I'm not quite sure. Can you make a recommendation? Or, this is what I kind of like. Do you have anything like that? Absolutely. Let me show you this and this. This is what this is. This is what it's going to do for you. This one's one of my personal favorites, da-da-da-da. You give them information as to what it is they need to know so that they can make a decision, get a good recommendation. And then you bring them up to the register and you let them know, hey, I really appreciate you coming in today. Is there anything else that we can do for you? Anything else that you're looking for? Or, hey, are you going to be smoking with us today? If you are, you need a soda or water or anything like that? And they'll, I'll just get one out of the vending machine. Well, here, let me take care of that first one for you. That's not a problem. And you will see someone just completely change. They are going to sit there and go, wow, okay. They're going to get real comfortable real quick, and that's what you want. Not because you want them to spend more money, but because you want them to understand it's not about you or your wallet. It's about you as a person. It's about you having experience. If I can do that, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Not only like right here and now, but I'm right where I need to be, doing exactly what I need to be doing in the way I need to be doing it. And you are an acknowledgement of that because you're comfortable, you're having a good time. And before you leave, whether you say it or not, I can see it on your face. Hey, I had a really good time. I really appreciate it. I don't need to hear that because, it's not about the accolades. It's nice to hear, but it's not, what the goal is. The goal is that someone's shoulders are slouched a little bit more than when they came in, and that they're relaxed and they feel like, wow, it's now I've never had one myself, a manicure, pedicure, or anything like that. My wife keeps telling that I need to do that. And I might at some point, I have a thing about people touching me, just one of my things. And she always talks about, when she's done, she's so relaxed and it felt so good. And oh my goodness, I want our customers to feel the same way. I want them to walk out and go, man, that was nice. I had a good time. I was able to kick back. I was able to relax. And that comes down to, one, me as a manager, making sure the shop is where it needs to be and doing what it needs to do, making sure that all the employees have the knowledge that they need, not only of our inventory, but as hospitality specialists, to make sure that each person is attended to and understood that, hey, it doesn't matter if you're a member, a newcomer, a regular, you're number one customer. You are all number one customers. The fact that you chose to come here, it honors us. It tells us that we're doing something right, and we want that to continue. That's how you get repeat business. That's how you get more customers. That's how your business grows. So why would you not want to do that? Why would you not want to give your employees top cover and look at it as, I can always be doing better. I need my employees' input. I need my owner's input as to what I haven't done or what I could be doing, or what I'm doing well, so that I know that I can reinforce some stuff. Talking with your employees and consistently letting them know, hey, you matter to me. I do that to my guys all the time. My greatest concern is that you're covered, that you're taken care of, because you guys do my day-to-day. I can delegate to you without having to micromanage it. You make sure that the things that I'm trying to get done when I'm not here. And then when I am here, we do it together. Really going through every aspect, being that cog that makes the machine run is really important. It doesn't have to be the number one position in the world, but it matters and it makes the machine run, whether you realize it or not. Without that piece, without that cog, the whole thing's going to stop. It's not going to work. It's just not going to. So every little bit is important. Yours, theirs, all of it. It's important. And the customer, without that cog, it doesn't run either.
Nothing happens.
So that needs to be treated important as well. So when I was in high school, you were kind of talking about, leadership and doing what other people do as well. Mm-hmm. I remember there was this poster in one of my English classes, and it said, a leader is a follower of what's true, right, and just. And I've always heard that later on in life too. Leaders are followers. They're followers of the example that you're trying to set on people. So that means that me as a leader, me as a manager, I'm going to show you how to clean the toilets, and I'm going to clean the toilets. I'm going to show you how to sweep and mop and vacuum, and I'm going to do that. If I'm not here, I'm going to teach you how I do it or how it needs to be done so that we get it done right. If I'm here, I'm not going to stand here and watch you do it. I'm going to do it too. Mm-hmm. If you're sweeping, I'm mopping. If you're cleaning, I'm refilling, and vice versa. Because it's important that, they understand that they are covered, that they have someone they can go to. And it's also important to know that it's not all just on them, that you're not sitting here looking at them going, hey, this is your job.
That's the one thing I've tried to say to coworkers, past, present, whatever. You never treat somebody like you're dumping all the stuff on them that you wouldn't do or you don't have time to do, because then somebody feels like a janitor, not just in the sweeping, but just in all aspects. It's like, yeah, you know what? We'll just give that to you to do because you kind of like, no, that's not how it works, because then that person feels literally like the trash can of the organization.
Absolutely.
Everything that you don't want to do or you don't have, that you won't take time to do or whatever, even if it has nothing to do with what I do, you're going to dump it on me. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yep.
And that's how, like you said, when you have the camaraderie and the synergy, all that's a part of it. If you don't have synergy within your organization, then it's literally just a bunch of people doing tasks because they want to get a check.
Yep.
Instead of everybody with a common purpose, a common goal to provide the best experience or the best product or the best service.
Yep.
So, we'll wrap it with that, because man, you literally can give a leadership conference for real. Like that's the one reason I had to have you on, because we talk about a lot of things people do, and we do deal with entrepreneurship, but the one thing is leadership, management, and all that stuff like that. So if you're ever in Dallas, Fort Worth, and you want to believe that this man is not literally blowing smoke, but experience how he gets down, and you walk in,
Absolutely.
you'll see him. He gets it. Come by Industrial Cigar Company. It's cool.
Come on down, get a recommendation, come and see us, come sit and smoke. We'd love to have you.
There it is. So now we're going to end this so we can talk about Area 51 off the podcast, man. Thank you for coming out.
Dan, thanks so much for having me.